Travel can easily be one of the best experiences or the worst. In today's video, I will do my best to provide some practical tips so that you can get to your destination drama-free and travel with less stress. So who the heck am I? Hello! If you don't know me, I'm Paloma and I travel as a lifestyle. So I don't live in any one place right now. I'm also a mental health coach, so I love to help people develop confidence. Because I'm a sensitive person, it turns out that I need to manage my stress on a daily basis, because if I don't, frankly, I'm a mess. In this video, I have chapters laid out for you so that you can click around and just go to the topics that cause you stress, or you can sit back and relax and join for all the topics that we'll cover today. Throughout this video, I will be referencing this workbook that I've created. I thought about all the things that cause me stress when I'm planning a trip, and I added them all into this workbook. What's in here matches the chapters that we'll cover in this video. This is a resource that is totally optional. If you do decide that this could help you, it would really help this channel out, so thank you if so. Anytime that you take a trip, maybe you want to fill it out. With that covered, let's get into our first topic that can cause stress, which is travel planning. This is the kind of stress that you'll feel at the very beginning, before you've done any planning at all. For me, it's kind of like this. Before letting your meltdown take over, be objective as you outline the basics of what you do know about your trip. Start simple. Who, what, when, where, why? Who is going on this trip? What memories do you want to make? When will this trip take place? Where are you going? Why are you taking this trip? These questions will help you find some clarity. It's just like dipping your little toe into the sea of travel planning. It may feel shocking at first, then you will acclimate and you'll be ready to dive in to deeper planning. If you're feeling anxious, one of the best things that you could possibly do is a little brain dump. Jot down absolutely everything on your mind. Even if you're anxious as you look at your list of things that you've written down, just trust that you'll figure each thing out that needs to be figured out at the right time. My mom is an expert travel planner. She's so good at picking destinations and thinking of fun things for the group to do.
We're in Cap Ferroing, everybody!
And one lesson that she's definitely taught me is about the magic of anticipation. The excitement associated with planning your trip and just feeling anticipation rivals the actual fun that you have on the trip itself. Your mind is a powerful thing, so take advantage of that. Let yourself feel giddy as you imagine, how do I want to feel on this trip? What I love about travel is that it unlocks a part of myself that either I didn't know existed or I forgot was there. You could imagine doing something daring that doesn't feel like you, but it's okay. This is all about exploring the destination where you're traveling to and yourself. Daydream about things that you could try that feel new and exciting, because that is truly what travel is all about. Something else to think about is how much travel planning you would like to do versus spontaneity, or just leaving things up to the moment, the day of, and deciding then on your trip that you want to do something. Everyone prefers a different level of preparation. I think the best thing to do is usually a balance, because there is something about the sense of adventure of deciding in the moment that you want to do something, but you do have to consider certain things. If, for example, you are traveling to Florence in peak tourist season, like the summer, the chances that you will get to just decide, oh, I want to go to this museum day of, are very slim, because there are just a lot of people and the tickets sell out. In these cases, you do want to kind of balance. Maybe you pick a few things and that's what you plan, and you leave other things up to spontaneity. The final thing that we'll do here in this stage of big picture planning is to break down your priorities. It's really important to distinguish what absolutely must be figured out from what would be nice to do if you have the time, but does not actually need to be done. Hopefully after this big picture planning, you're feeling better and you're ready to get into the travel specifics. Getting into the details of planning out your trip can be overwhelming. Maybe you have to plan out different legs of the journey, hotels, layovers. First things first, decide how you're going to keep track of your planning. However you would like to get organized, whether you use this guide or you prefer to take notes or you like to use your computer, stick to that one way of keeping track of all these things as you figure them out, and you'll start to feel so much better as you see everything get mapped out all in one place. The main areas that we want to figure out here are your flight or your travel info. How are you getting to your destination? Your lodging, where will you stay once you're there? And local transportation, how will you get around once you are in your destination? In my experience, the most common ways of traveling are flying or road trips. Flights usually take more effort and energy because you need to actually book the flight and you need to pack a little more carefully because you can only really bring whatever you can carry, whereas you could just throw a lot of stuff in the trunk of a car. Usually booking flights earlier means that they'll be cheaper, but that's not always the case. Lots of sites have flight trackers to help you get a better deal. When it comes to picking your flight, one thing that I like to consider is my arrival time, because lots of times when you check into a hotel or an Airbnb, you can't actually check in until about 3 p.m. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do though. So in those cases, call ahead. Maybe your hotel would be willing to hold your luggage for you if you do decide to just show up. Or there are also suitcase rental companies where you can rent a little cubby for a few hours. There are options, but overall, I'd recommend try if you can to just scoot from the airport to your check-in destination for seamless travel. No matter how you get to your destination, you do need a place to stay. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to know what you're signing up for. Definitely read reviews so that you know if there's anything iffy about this place where you want to stay. I pay a lot of attention to the exact location of the destination where I want to stay. How will I realistically get around from place to place? If you'll have a car or you plan to only really use rideshare apps, this doesn't necessarily need to be considered as much, but if you won't, it'll probably be a good idea to stay near the city center or at least a public transportation stop that gets you to where you need to go. Also look at the map of the immediate surrounding neighborhood. I like to check, is there anywhere that I can walk that's 10 minutes away, whether it's a grocery store or a cafe? Things to just help me feel a little comfier if I decide I want to go on a quick walk and just pick up something. One way to gauge the feel of a neighborhood is to do Google Street View. You can pick up this little guy and you can actually click through as if you're walking in this place. You just want to make sure that you stay somewhere safe. Threads, forums, Reddit, whatever you need to check so that you can feel good about where you're staying. The last things you might want to track at this stage are if there's a time zone difference, keeping a to-do list for super important things like getting your passport renewed, or storing important information like local phone numbers or emergency contacts in case you don't have cell reception or something. After mapping these out, trust me, you will feel a lot better. After you've booked your flight and the housing, you might start to stress out about the cost of this trip. This is a good time to start tallying up everything so that you know what to expect for your budget. I definitely recommend doing budgeting at this point when you've started your travel planning but haven't gotten super specific into the day-to-day itinerary, because you don't know what you're gonna do every single day until you know how much you can spend doing those things. One thing that might help you feel a little better is that these costs are staggered. The expensive big ticket items like the flight or the housing usually come first when you're planning. So then you get them out of the way, you can breathe a little easier that at least that's taken care of. And then those other expenses will usually come a little later, maybe right before your trip or during your trip, maybe once you've gotten another paycheck from work. The way I like to budget is to separate essentials budgeting from fun stuff budgeting. I see the essentials as the non-negotiable things that you need to just survive and make your trip happen at all, period. It's the fun stuff that definitely has some wiggle room. You don't need to go on this or that activity to survive, right? So once you've accounted for maybe the boring, I gotta take care of this or that, you get to think about the fun stuff. The little treats that make the trip feel so special. Not everything that's fun costs money, but some fun things cost money. Know how much wiggle room you have every day for fun stuff, whether that's souvenirs or activities or nice dinners out. We all have different things that light us up and bring us joy, and we also all have different budgets. Even if you only have a really small fun stuff budget, you'll end up really cherishing the one nice meal that you have or the one souvenir that you buy yourself. Hopefully you have enough wiggle room for at least something small just to bring you a little joy on your trip. So now that you've thought about your budget, let's move on to the day-to-day itineraries. Once you have your travel and your housing booked and you've worked on your budget, you're now ready to think about what you're really gonna do every single day during this trip. I think a helpful way to break down your day-to-day planning is by meals. In my opinion, eating is like one of the best parts of traveling. And it also groups your day into 3 separate chunks: morning, afternoon, and evening. It can be really fun to think about cool restaurants that you could go to, but also imagine that sometimes meals can be kind of low-key. Maybe you just want to get a croissant one morning and go eat it at a park, or make your own sandwich and bring it to a beach day for a picnic. Besides eating, the other thing I love the most about traveling is doing activities. The reason you're on this trip is to go see things, do things, experience things. Maybe you want to group things by neighborhood, so if you find one restaurant you really want to go to, and you also see an activity that looks really fun, and they're nearby each other, try to do those on the same day maybe. Because you've gone through the exercise of making a rough budget, you should also know approximately how much you can spend on this fun stuff. It's okay to change your mind on this too. Maybe everything you write will perfectly happen, and then maybe some of your ideas don't pan out. This is really about imagining the possibilities and helping yourself feel more confident that you'll be able to think of plenty of fun things to do, and it's all gonna be very fun. I am a big advocate for packing as light as possible. I think it makes travel so much easier. If you already watched my minimalist packing tips video, you may have already seen this resource. This is a packing list to help you narrow down what you'll bring to the absolute essentials. Packing with a minimalist mentality can really make packing a lot less stressful because you're simplifying the process of packing. Coming up with a rough outfit formula that you'll follow every day of your trip can be a huge help. Look at the weather and the activities that you'll be doing to decide what outfits would make the most sense for you. Stick to that outfit formula every day or as many days as possible, and you'll be so relaxed about packing and what you're bringing with you. I won't spend too much time on this topic because I have a few other videos that you could check out if you want a little more help with trying to pack light. Now let's talk about relationships. If you're traveling on your own or with people, it could be very helpful to think about the relationship that you have with yourself or with others before you take your trip. If you'll be traveling alone, this is such a great opportunity to get to know yourself better and just feel a little more confident doing things on your own. I have some prompts here if you enjoy writing or journaling. If you're traveling with others, it's very important that you're somewhat aware of the group dynamics. Do certain people fall into certain roles when you're all together? How much planning versus winging it does everyone in the group like? What does each individual like to do for fun? It's okay if the group splits up at certain points. Maybe some people like to wake up early and other people like to sleep in. A drama-free trip is the best trip. And the way to do that is for everyone to communicate their hopes and desires for the trip so there's no guessing. One fun game that my brother introduced me to is the 3 Wishes game. You can do this with your group as a fun icebreaker at the beginning of the trip, or do it if you're traveling alone as a fun little exercise by yourself. For this game, think about 3 wishes that you would love to come true. The first one could totally happen. The second one maybe could happen. And the third one probably won't happen, but you never know. Doing something like this at the beginning of your trip can be a great way to ease the tension and just have fun imagining the possibilities. The next source of anxiety for a lot of people is airports. Whether you feel anxious going through security or you feel afraid when you hit turbulence, it's important to just acknowledge how you really feel. And it's really okay. I don't like those things either. But not everything about airports and flying has to be seen as bad. For example, I think there's no better place to people watch than an airport. I just love seeing all the people passing by and wondering where they're going and what their lives are like. And there's definitely something magical on a smooth ride when you look out the window of a plane and you feel like you're flying like a bird. So try to find something that you can be a little thankful for, even if it's just that it's one travel day rather than weeks on a ship or something. My favorite travel day is when I have only a carry-on, no checked bags, so that I don't have to stand in line at the counter. I also make sure I download the airline's app ahead of time so that I check in and I get my QR code ticket on my phone. When I only have a backpack and I have my ticket on my phone, all I need is to get my ID out and go straight through security. I also recommend doing TSA pre-check or global entry so that you can make security a little shorter too. Sitting down at your gate as soon as possible is the ideal because that's usually pretty relaxing. A couple more tips. If you have an iPhone, you can text yourself or the person who's maybe picking you up from the airport. your flight number. And if you click on that link, it actually updates and tells you the flight status. If you have a layover, but it's a short one, I'd recommend looking up the airport map for where you'll be landing so that you know, if possible, what the layout of that airport is, because maybe you'll be told you have to cross to a different terminal. It'd be good to know, am I having to take a shuttle? Is there a plane train that I should know about? Lots of this stuff you won't be able to perfectly figure out ahead of time and does just take some fumbling around at the airport, in which case, ask someone and I'm sure they can help you. But any way to feel a little more prepared, I think can be very helpful. If you have a fear of flying, remember that flying is still statistically the safest way to travel. Turbulence is totally normal, even if it's very uncomfortable. Maybe come prepared with something that you know will soothe your anxiety during the flight. Whether you have a playlist prepared or a meditation or a literal comfort blanket, whatever you need to do, so long as it's allowed on an airplane, you should do if it makes you feel more relaxed. Flying and airports are just a necessary part of travel, but once you get through it, you'll be at your destination and your adventure can begin. Maybe you're traveling someplace totally new for you. You could be going somewhere with a different culture or that speaks a different language. This is my first time ever driving into Mexico.
I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, we're crossing the border soon! It's so great that you're going to an unfamiliar environment. Your worldview will shift and this might be a life-changing experience for you. But how do you navigate the newness of it all? First things first, hopefully you're making sure to prioritize your safety above all. So do the little things like research the neighborhoods that you'll be visiting, or maybe carrying a crossbody bag to deter pickpockets. But it's also important in this new place that you're not overly cautious or fearful that something's gonna go wrong. You want the locals to see that you have a positive and open attitude about them and their traditions, and that you're respectful of their home. Tourism can be excellent for the local economy, but it's also very important to be aware of the strains that come along with it, like locals being priced out of their homes because of short-term rentals. Just be aware that sometimes there's a range of attitudes towards visitors and you don't want to be caught off guard. I think travel is a wonderful thing to do. It's just important for the person traveling to take some initiative, whether it's learning a few phrases in the local language or adhering to local customs if it's expected, to show the locals that you're open to learning about this culture. Talk to other people you know who have visited, watch videos, do what you can to learn about this new place. Hopefully you'll encounter some things that you're very excited to experience. Maybe it's the local cuisine, art, or music.
¿Quieren tortillas?
Sí, gracias.
Paloma negra, ¿dónde andará?
Just do what you can. When you arrive, I bet you'll be pleasantly surprised by how kind and welcoming the people there can be. Ah, travel mishaps. The truth is that even if you have everything planned out to a T, something bizarre could still happen that could go wrong. One time I was by myself in Portugal and I took a day trip out of Lisbon to Pena Palace. I was all set, I arrived, and then out of nowhere, my phone screen turns black. I couldn't figure out what to do. I was at the entrance, the tickets are sold out. I had tickets, but they were on my dead phone, and I also no longer have a map to navigate back to the city of Lisbon. A very friendly tuk-tuk driver sees me panicking, and I explain what's happened. He calls his techie friend, who walks me through how to do a hard reset on my phone. You hold down the top button and the side button and the side button, and then you wait 10 minutes and you jump 3 times or something, but it worked. I went to the palace, it was so cool, so fun, and I had a way to navigate back home afterward. That tuk-tuk driver was my absolute hero that day. All this to say, travel mishaps happen, and when they do, you'll have a good story to keep in mind to help avoid that happening again. I also think I went to bed that night feeling as though I'd had a real adventure that day. I think most travel mishaps resolve themselves somehow. Hopefully you can begin to think how they could really just be plot points in your adventure story. It might help you if you have a lot of worries about travel mishaps to pick your top 3 fears and work through them. Imagine that they did happen. What are some things that you could do that could be solutions? Sometimes imagining the worst case scenarios makes them a little less scary because you've thought through it and you have some idea of what you could do. Some travel tip mishap tips could be saving copies of travel documents, maybe in the cloud or on a device, downloading offline maps, having some spare cash on hand, and keeping anything important like medications in your carry-on bag rather than your checked bag, just in case your checked bag gets lost. Just come up with a few backup plans for some of your worries so that you feel a little less stressed. The last topic we'll cover today is enjoying your trip by staying in the present moment. I think we put a ton of pressure on ourselves that when we take a big trip, it has to go perfectly and we have to document every second of it. See if instead you can prioritize being fully present on your trip so that you can just appreciate how special it is. There's no need to get caught up in the past or be sad about leaving. I find that paying attention to my 5 senses is the best way to get out of my head and back into the present moment. If you're thinking about this before you go on your trip, what is something that you want to see? What is something that you would want to smell? What is something that you want to hear? Something that you'd want to taste? Something that you'd want to touch? As much as you can during your trip, bring yourself back to your senses and fully appreciate everything about the present moment and your trip. Maybe you have a list of questions handy that you can refer to during your trip to help you bring you back into that moment so that you're traveling mindfully. Here are some questions that might help. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope some of these ideas helped you. Please tell me if there's anything you'd like me to cover on a future video, and if you do think this workbook could be helpful for you, please click the link in the description to get yours. Thanks for watching and happy traveling!